There's a lot of firsts in our lives, but we're gonna talk about the ones that really matter today on Throwback.
Today's episode of Throwback is brought to you by Lola, where you can be 100% ready with everything you need and need to know about getting your first period with Lola's First Period Kit. It includes a variety of pads and tampons with a cute canvas pouch to carry the products in. For $10 off your first period kit, visit mylola.com and enter Clevver at checkout.
First date ever? Oh my gosh.
My first date was horrible. I can't stand to hear people chew, and my date was sitting next to me, chewing really loudly on bread. How do you make bread disgusting? This guy did it.
My first date was at the movies with a neighbor. Let's just say his mom, I was like 14, awkwardly says, "Don't forget to take a condom." I didn't even know what a condom was.
I guess my first real date that I was actually asked out on, I was working as a server and it was my first day, and this guy wrote his number on it. He was from Argentina and so hot, and I thought he wrote his number down and he was like, "I want to take you on a date." And then I said, "See," and then we went on the date, and then the person who showed up to the date was not the hot guy that I thought it was, but just his friend. It was still fun.
The first I could remember, we went to like the movies, and I remember I forgot my ID and we couldn't see the movie.
You would go to the back row and hang out. You wouldn't watch the movie. You just hang out, eat popcorn, and like make out. You know what I'm saying? Or at Six Flags, you just go off away from your friends and like ride a roller coaster together. So those were my first dates.
I went to an 18 or over club and we danced, and it was like as if nobody else was there. It was one of those movies where like you're looking at the person, everyone else is like out of focus and blurry. And then we had our first kiss in a Taco Bell parking lot.
The date ended with a makeout sesh.
Yeah, I was not into it. There was a little kissing at the end, and I was like, oh my God, when is this gonna be over?
We watched A Walk to Remember, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and my heart was pounding. I was like, this is the moment. This is the moment. It's gonna happen. And he just laid one on me. It was not what I thought it was gonna be. I pulled away, and I was like, did I do okay? Like, who says that? Who asks if they do okay?
My first job was babysitting. If you knew me at all, you would never trust me with your children. And imagine trying to trust me with your children when I'm like 14. It was babysitting these like Satan's children, right? There's two little kids. The little girl tried to convince me to give her brother his Ritalin medication. He'd already had it.
My first job was Fuddruckers. I hated it because I worked in the dessert section, so I got limitless chocolate chip cookies and milkshakes. I made that, and I had to make burgers and work at the register.
I was an intern for a company called Big Screen Network Productions, and they did like video board stuff for sporting events. And I began my editing days there. So I was a minstrel on the keys, as Jocelyn would say, and I was just photoshopping a lot of things.
I was a baton coach instructor, and I made some pretty decent moolah. So I would give some private lessons to the little girls that came after me.
My first job was here. My first job was Clevver. I was an intern first, and I became a writer, and now I talk to you guys in front of a camera.
I was in high school and I was really interested in science and biology and research, so I worked in a lab that focused on HIV-associated nephropathy, and I was running like Western blots. So I was doing research. I'm a little nerd.
I used to work at Pizza Hut. I used to like cutting pizzas because it was like a workout at the same time, and my arms were like really toned at the time from lifting the pizzas or like taking the pizzas off the belt and like cutting them. So I was like doing this all day, and I secretly would always slice like a tiny little piece and like put it to the side, so every delivery would probably be missing a skinny slice that I would eat.
My first period. I love talking about this. It's so fun.
First time my volcano erupted. I was in 6th grade. I bled so much. I went to school, and I didn't know how often you had to change your tampon or your pad. So I got in my dad's car, and he had like beige seats that weren't leather, but you could see it if someone were to bleed out on the car seat. So I got out of the car, and it was just like as if Quentin Tarantino had directed a film. Like, it was Chainsaw Massacre all over the seat, and my dad thought I was dying. Like, it was like a wounded animal, and I was like, Dad, it's fine, everything's fine, let me go get a towel. And he was like, are you gonna be okay? Like, are you really okay? And I was like, Dad, this is totally natural, happens every month. I taught my dad how periods work. You're welcome, Steve Dorsey.
I was in 8th grade. I was in the middle of class, which is not the best place to get your period. It just feels like you've peed your pants. And so I went to the bathroom because I thought I had bladder control issues, and I did not. I had Aunt Flo invitation issues?
My first period was horrible because I was only 10 years old and I used to still play with Barbies. So I was like, what is happening to me? I grew up in like a really sheltered house, so nobody ever told me I was gonna get my period until I got my period. So you can imagine I'm sitting there and there's like blood gushing out and I'm like, what's happening to me? It was so freaking scary. I can't even, I don't want anyone to go through that.
I vividly remember that I was hanging out with a guy and then I'd gone to the movies and then I'd come home and been like, oh no, what is going on? And I went into the bathroom and found out that there was a lot going on, and then I came out and told my mom and my sister, and they were like, oh my god, that's so sweet, and then they like clapped and thought it was cute, but then neither of them were particularly helpful with what to do next. They handed me a tampon, I went into the bathroom, and I was like, I don't know, you don't know there's 2 holes until you get your period. My sister, I remember, did help a friend of hers one time, and she put it in for her. She didn't do that for me, but she did that for a friend of hers. For me, it also, though, didn't happen until I was like 16. I feel like everyone else got theirs super early, so I knew it was coming, but then when it finally did, I was like, oh, this is what everyone's been talking about.
All right, ladies, so if you haven't gotten your period yet, don't worry. Just always make sure like in your locker you have a little compartment full of like pads and tampons and maybe just like some tissues and some chocolate. Just your safe place to go when that day happens.
All right, those are the first in our lives, but we want to hear about your fun stories, so let us know. Comment section below and subscribe.
Click here to check out a brand new cheat day full of the best foods at Coachella. And thanks to Lola for sponsoring this episode. I love the modern and easy convenience of the service. For $10 off your first period kit, visit mylola.com and enter Clevver at checkout.